Hello everybody, this is Namanjan coming right at you with a new tutorial. This is Combat System Part 2. If you haven't watched Part 1, I recommend you to watch Part 1 right now. So last time we were able to create a mob which follows us, and we were also able to, as players, select our opponent. I'll demonstrate you. So we are in our player game object, and we have a fighter script, and we have an opponent, and sorry, we have an opponent game object over here, and currently it's null. But once we drag over to our opponent, we can see it assigns it to enemy, which is our game object over here. So now what we want to do is we want to attack this enemy and reduce its health. But before that, we need attack animation. You can have public animation clip attack, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a user input. So basically this line is saying that if our user input presses space. Now I know in Diablo that we attack the enemy by clicking on it, but for now, for just a temporary usage, we're going to use space. In the near future, we're going to change it to click. This is just to simplify stuff for now. And then once the user presses spacebar, animation.play, attack. Now we have first first we're gonna go to our skeleton data and go to our player and drag our attack to the attack animation. Now we have a bug with this. First thing is, if you only click the space bar, it's not gonna play the whole animation. But if you hold the space bar, it's gonna play the full animation. Now this is because when you say animation.play attack, play, at the same time, it is telling to play the cross. It's telling to play the idle animation. So when you're not clicking the space bar, it is playing the idle animation, and we don't want it to play the idle animation when we're attacking. Now the way to do this is we need to prioritize our attack animation over the idle animation. So we're going to do this by having a boolean bool attack. I'll explain to you in a moment what static is, but bool attack is basically a variable which is gonna check if our player is attacking or not attacking. So if our bool attack is true, our fighter is attacking an opponent. But if it is false, our fighter is not attacking an opponent. Now static basically means you can access this variable from literally anywhere in the project. So for example, in fighter, we can just say click to move dot attack is equal to true. So when our player press the space, we are attacking because we're setting the attack to true. Now what we want to do is, in our update, we want to say if player is not attacking, only then we're gonna do all the movement. Only then we're gonna do all our movement algorithm. But if our player is attacking, we're not gonna do anything. We're gonna let the player to attack. Now let's see this in action. Now as you can see, when I only click the spacebar, the player attacks. But now we have another bug. I'll show you. When we move in the first place, we can move our character, but once we press spacebar, we cannot move it anymore. This is because we need to set our attack back to false, because once we have finished attacking, we want to set this back to false. Now we're going to do this by saying if our animation we're gonna say if our animation is not playing. So if our animation is not, no, sorry, that is playing, attack dot name. So this is basically saying if our animation is not, the exclamation mark says not, if our attack animation is not playing, then we're going to say click to move that attack is equal to false. No errors. And as you can see, after we attack, we can still move. And notice while you're attacking, the program will not let you move your character, which we want, because we want our player to stay in one position and attack. Okay, now that we have done this, we want our player to face towards our opponent while attacking, because now it's kind of weird if we, even though we're selecting our opponent, it's not facing towards our opponent, and it is not realistic. They're gonna say if we have pressed the key code, we're gonna say transform dot look at opponent dot position dot transform. I think a game object as a parameter works. I'm not. No, it doesn't. No, wait. No. So you have to say transform dot look at dot transform. So you call the game object the opponent, so which is the enemy, and then you call the transform of that enemy, and then you say the position of that transform. So before we actually test this script, I just wanted to tell you that I realized bug from our click to move function we made in our tutorial 1. Just very small bug. This tutorial seems to have a couple of bugs. I'm sorry for it to be annoying, but the bug basically is basically when you click on yourself, it basically goes crazy and it's not right. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna assign it a position to move to when you click on yourself. You're gonna go to locate position and click to move. This is gonna be very quick. You're gonna say if hit, so we're getting the hit collider the tag is not equal to player. Only then we're gonna. So basically, it's saying if we click on ourself, we're not gonna assign ourselves a position because we're already standing on that position. So as you can see, we've got rid of that bug and back to our normal combat script. So now we're gonna select our enemy by just not clicking on it but just dragging on it, and then we're gonna press spacebar, and as you can see, it automatically rotate towards our player. Even though if it's not in red, it's still gonna rotate in player, which is fine for now. So now that our player can rotate towards our opponent and do the attack animation, now we want to actually take out some health from our mob. So first, to take off health from our mob, we need a health variable in our mob. So we're going to go to our mob script and make a private int health. Now we make it private because we don't want our fighter to directly access the health. We're going to use a method to change this health. So we're going to say in our mob, we're going to say public void get hits. So this method is basically going to say, so we're going to go to our fighter and be like mob.getHit. So we're going to say mob hit yourself when I do the attack animation. But for this, we need to send the mob the damage we're going to do. So for that, we're going to say int damage in these round brackets. So we're going to pass it an int, and then we're gonna say health is equal to health minus damage. So we're saying mob, you need to get hit, and you're gonna hit yourself by this much damage, and the mob is gonna reduce its health by this much damage. And here we're gonna say if our player hits the space, and if our opponent is not equal to null. So if we have opponent, we're gonna say opponent dot. Oops, sorry. Before we do this, we actually need a script. So we need to actually be able to access a script. So we're gonna say opponent dot get component. Gonna say we're gonna get the mob script dot get hit by some damage. Now we can set this damage over here. We're saying public int damage. So now our player has a damage. We're gonna say damage. So we got this, and then we're gonna say we're gonna set our health to 100 over here. So I'll repeat this one more time. In our update, we're gonna say if our player presses the keycode.space, and if our opponent is not equal to null, we're gonna say opponent.getComponent, and we're gonna get the mob script and say to get hit by this much damage. And here it's gonna reduce its health. Oops, it's gonna reduce its health by the given damage. And here we set the health to be 100. Now to check if this works, we're gonna log our opponent's health. And we have errors. I forgot to close it with a semicolon. And yes. And as you can see, it reduces its health, but by 35. But again, we have a problem over here. It is continuously, it's decreasing its health every frame. We don't want to decrease its health every frame, but only one time for every attack animation. To fix this problem, we're first gonna look at our attack animation. So first we're gonna go to our player, go to our animation component, and go to the attack. Click on attack, and we're gonna look at the preview. It's gonna show up like this, and you just have to drag it up, and you can see our skeleton doing the attack animation. And as you can see, we want our player to actually take out our enemy's health when our dagger is around here. So imagine the skeleton to have his dagger over here, and we want him to actually impact on the enemy to hit the enemy to reduce the health of the enemy when our frame is at this point. So which is approximately 35. So we're going to go back to our fighter. We're going to have a public int impact time. This is a time when we're going to reduce the health from the mob. And we're going to set this. You can go back to player. By the way, I changed our damage to 40 just to reduce confusion, as this just happens to be 0.35. And this actually is supposed to be a double because it's going to be in points. So you're going to say 0.35. So this is the percentage of the frame. So we're going to say, you're going to make a method called impact. This is going to give the impact, the damage at the correct time. And we're going to call our impact in our update method over here. So we're going to say impact, and that's it. For now, the method doesn't do anything. So basically, we want this impact method to deal the damage at the correct time to the enemy. So for that, first we are going to check if we have an opponent. So if opponent is not equal to null, and we're gonna check if we're actually playing. Sorry. If you're actually playing the attack animation. So this is basically checking if you actually have an opponent and you're playing the attack animation, and then we're gonna impact on the right time. So we're gonna have an if statement saying if animation, and then square brackets. It's very important. And then in the square bracket, you're gonna say attack.name .time. So this is basically actually giving you what is the current time of the animation, at what time it is playing now. So for example, if you have our attack animation over here, if our animation is in this state, it's gonna give 0.04, and if it is at this state, it's gonna give 0.10, and so on. And then you're gonna say if our time has exceeded our impact time. But as it is in percentage, we need to multiply it to our length, the length of the attack animation. Length times impact time. So this is basically saying if the time of our animation has exceeded, the reason we're not putting equal to is because the time are never going to be equal. They're going to be close to but not equal to. So we're going to say if we have passed our impact, if the animation has passed our impact time, we want to impact the enemy. We want to hit the enemy. This is again very confusing. If you have any questions, you can message me or inbox or comment. I will reply as fast as possible. So I did a small mistake over here. Instead of a big A, I had to put in a small a. And now once we have finished this has another bug. So what this is going to do is it's going to keep on impacting the enemy after the time has exceeded, but we only wanted to impact it once. So we're going to have a boolean variable which is going to keep track of this. Public bool impacted. Let's name it impacted. And it's going to be false for now, and we're going to say if we have reached the impact time, we're gonna get hit our opponent, and we're gonna say impacted is equal to true. So basically we're saying that now we have already impact, but here we're gonna actually check if we have not impacted. So this is basically saying if our opponent is not equal to null and our animation is playing, and if you have already not impact. So if we have not impact yet, because we still need to impact, and then it's gonna go through all this. And over here, we're gonna say once the animation has stopped playing, we have to set impact to false once again, because we need to reset the impact value for it to go through this method again. If this is confusing again, you can post comments and I will reply. And as you can see, it only impacts once, and it only impacts when our dagger is at the right position. Now, this is very different from usually what you see in tutorials out there, because other tutorials don't take into consideration that we need to impact the enemy when our sword is actually in the right position. As you can see here, when our sword is most out, only then we impact our enemy. But now we have another problem. We can see that our health, the health of our mob goes below 0. So to fix that, we're gonna say in our mob that if health is below 0, we're just gonna set health equal to 0 because we don't want it to go below 0. Now we're running really high on time, so unfortunately I will have to make another part for this combat system. I have a feeling that this is going to be a very big series, but this the system is still not refined yet. It still has a lot of bug. For example, it can still attack our enemy when it is out of range. We have not selected, but once we select, it's still gonna impact the enemy when it is out of range, as you can see, and so on. There are a couple of bugs which I'll fix in the next series, but I'm also actually going for holidays for about 20 days. Don't worry, I'm still going to upload videos on YouTube. But the problem is I'm gonna use my MacBook Pro and not my iMac, so the screen quality might be a little a, a little bad. It might be 720 HP and not 1080 HP. I'm not sure about that. But if the quality is not good enough, you guys can tell me, and I will not make videos until I am finished with my holidays. But if the quality is good enough, I will continue make videos in my holidays. But after the holidays, I'm gonna be back to my normal routine, and I can continue make videos. If you like my content, you can please subscribe to my channel, share my videos, and like my videos. It helps me a lot. And thank you very much.